History turns on the empire. Is Britain facing its karma? The sun has long set on the British Empire, but are the shadows of its past finally catching up with the present? 1. The rise and fall of an empire. At its zenith in the 19th and early 20th centuries, the British Empire was the largest empire in history, spanning continents and controlling over a quarter of the world's landmass and population. It was an era defined by exploration, conquest, industrialization, and colonial domination. The phrase, "the sun never sets on the British Empire," encapsulated its global reach and unparalleled influence. But empires are not eternal. By the mid-20th century, decolonization swept across Africa, Asia, and the Caribbean, dismantling the imperial structure that had once seemed invincible. While Britain transitioned into a modern nation-state, the legacy of its colonial past remained a complex tapestry of economic exploitation, cultural erasure, and systemic oppression. Now, as Britain grapples with political instability, social unrest, and economic uncertainty, many are asking, is this the reckoning for centuries of imperial hubris? Is Britain facing its karma? 2. The legacy of colonialism, a double-edged sword. The British Empire left behind both tangible achievements and profound scars. Its impact continues to shape the modern world in ways both visible and unseen. Positive contributions, debated. Infrastructure development. Railways, ports, and telegraph lines built during colonial rule laid the groundwork for economic growth in some regions. Global connectivity. English became a lingua franca, facilitating international communication and trade. Cultural exchange. Art, literature, and ideas flowed between Britain and its colonies, creating a shared cultural heritage, albeit often one-sided. Dark realities. Economic exploitation. Resources were extracted from colonies to fuel Britain's industrial revolution, leaving local economies impoverished and dependent. Human rights abuses, slavery, forced labor, massacres, e.g. Amritsar, and discriminatory policies devastated millions of lives. Cultural suppression. Indigenous languages, traditions, and governance systems were systematically undermined or destroyed. These legacies have resurfaced in recent years, sparking debates about reparations, apologies, and accountability. From protests against statues of colonial figures to demands for returning stolen artifacts, the ghosts of empire refuse to be ignored. 3. Modern Britain, a nation in crisis. In 2023, Britain finds itself at a crossroads. Political turmoil, economic stagnation, and societal divisions suggest that the nation may be confronting the consequences of its imperial past. Could these challenges be interpreted as karmic justice for centuries of exploitation and inequality? Brexit and identity crisis. The decision to leave the European Union in 2016 was partly driven by nostalgia for sovereignty and independence, a sentiment rooted in Britain's imperial self-image. Yet Brexit has exposed deep fractures within the UK, including tensions between England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Some argue that this fragmentation mirrors the divisive tactics used by Britain to control its colonies. Economic decline. Once the workshop of the world, Britain now struggles with stagnant wages, rising inflation, and widening wealth gaps. Critics point out that the wealth accumulated through colonialism masked underlying structural weaknesses which have become apparent in the post-imperial era. Racial and social inequality. The Windrush scandal, Black Lives Matter protests, and ongoing discrimination against minority communities highlight how colonial ideologies persist in contemporary society. Calls for racial justice echo demands for acknowledgement of historical wrongs. Environmental debt. Colonial practices such as deforestation, monoculture farming, and resource extraction contributed to environmental degradation that still affects former colonies today. Meanwhile, Britain faces criticism for failing to take sufficient action on climate change, a crisis exacerbated by colonial-era industrialization. 4. Karma or coincidence? Exploring the idea. The concept of karma originates from Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, suggesting that actions, good or bad, have consequences that eventually return to their source. While not a scientific principle, it offers a compelling framework for understanding patterns of cause and effect in history. If we apply this lens to Britain's situation, certain parallels emerge. Loss of global influence. Just as Britain once imposed its will on others, it now struggles to assert itself on the global stage amidst rising powers like China and India. Internal fragmentation. Colonial strategies of divide and rule sowed discord among subject populations. Today, similar divisions threaten the unity of the United Kingdom itself. Moral reckoning. Former colonies and diaspora communities are demanding accountability for past injustices, forcing Britain to confront uncomfortable truths about its role in shaping the modern world. However, skeptics caution against oversimplifying complex historical processes as mere karma. They argue that current challenges stem from a variety of factors, including globalization, technological disruption, and domestic policy failures, not just colonial guilt. 5. Can Britain redeem itself? Facing the shadows of empire does not mean resigning to fate. It presents an opportunity for reflection, reconciliation, and renewal. Here's how Britain might begin addressing its colonial legacy: acknowledgement and apology. Formal recognition of historical wrongs, accompanied by sincere apologies, could help rebuild trust with former colonies and marginalized communities. Reparations and restitution. While contentious, discussions around reparations for slavery, land theft, and other injustices could pave the way for meaningful redress. Education and awareness. Reforming school curricula to include honest accounts of colonial history would foster greater understanding and empathy among future generations. Support for developing nations. Investing in sustainable development initiatives in former colonies could serve as a form of reparative justice while promoting global stability. 6. Lessons from history. Looking forward. Whether viewed through the lens of karma or historical analysis, one truth is undeniable. Nations cannot escape the consequences of their actions. For Britain, acknowledging the weight of its imperial past is not about wallowing in guilt. It's about charting a path toward healing and progress. By embracing transparency, accountability, and inclusivity, Britain has the chance to redefine its identity in a post-imperial world. The question remains, will it seize this moment or let history repeat itself? Conclusion. Turning the page on empire. The story of Britain's empire is a tale of triumph and tragedy, innovation and injustice. As the nation navigates the uncertainties of the 21st century, it must grapple with the echoes of its past and decide whether to face them with courage or complacency.